What do you do when the woman you love, your wife, laughs a little too hard at something another man whispers to her? What do you do when everyone around you laughs too, but you are the only one who understands what that moment really means? That night, I watched the drink in my hand disappear faster than I realized. I do not remember choosing to drink more, but by the time my wife lifted her champagne flute and made a toast to real men, I had already swallowed more than I meant to. And it was not just the champagne burning my throat. The rooftop was alive. Soft jazz floated through the air. Expensive cologne mixed with perfume. Small white lights were strung overhead, spread out like stars across the dark sky. It was supposed to be a celebration. My 38th birthday. A night meant for me. But the truth is, I had been feeling invisible in my own life long before that evening. Let me rewind a little. My name is Daniel. I own a fitness studio in downtown Denver. Real training. Weights. Bodyweight work. Mental toughness. I coach corporate guys who want to feel strong again and women who are tougher than most people expect. I love the work. I built the place myself after 2 deployments overseas and a few years drifting through jobs that never felt right. My wife, Lauren, used to be my steady ground. She was sharp, confident, beautiful in a way that made rooms go quiet when she walked in. She worked in marketing and could outthink most executives without breaking a sweat. For a long time, I believed we were solid. Or at least, I thought we were. The party was her idea. She said I deserved something special. She said we would keep it intimate. 35 guests. Live jazz. A ridiculous cake shaped like a barbell. I did not want the attention, but lately it felt easier to agree than to argue, so I nodded. From the moment we arrived, something felt wrong. Lauren was different. Louder than usual. Drinking faster. Laughing harder. She moved around the space like she was hosting strangers, brushing past me again and again, like I was furniture instead of her husband. I told myself she was nervous or stressed about the party. That excuse worked until it did not. Every time I looked for her, she was farther away. Then I saw it. She stood near the edge of the balcony, holding a glass of rose, angled toward a man I had never seen before. He looked mid-30s, scruffy beard, blazer sleeves rolled up like he wanted everyone to notice how casual he was. He leaned in close and whispered something into her ear. Lauren threw her head back and laughed. Not a polite laugh. Not a quick chuckle. It was full and open, the kind of laugh I had not heard from her in months. Not with me. That alone punched straight through my chest. Then she lifted her glass. His glass met hers. They clinked together. To real men, she said. The words cut through the music like a slap. People laughed. Someone whistled. The moment passed for everyone else. For me, it did not. I did not yell. I did not confront her. I did not demand to know who he was, or why her hand stayed on his arm longer than it should have. I finished my drink, set the empty glass down on a small table that shook slightly, and walked away. No coat. No goodbye. The elevator ride down was silent and empty. I watched my reflection in the mirrored walls. My posture was straight. My jaw tight. I was not angry yet. What I felt was clarity. When the doors opened in the lobby, the cold Denver night hit my face. That sharp, clean air burned my lungs and cleared my head. My phone buzzed in my pocket. Her name lit up the screen. I did not answer. I turned left and started walking with no real destination, like a man leaving a building he just watched burn. Because in a way, I had. As I disappeared into the dark, one thought stayed with me, steady and heavy. That was not just a toast. That was a warning. The next morning, the smell of scrambled eggs reached me before I even stepped into the kitchen. Lauren was humming. She always hummed when she cooked. It used to make the house feel warm and alive. That morning, it felt like a performance. She stood barefoot, wearing one of my shirts, flipping eggs like nothing had happened. Like the night before had never existed. Like the words to real men were not still echoing in my head. Morning, she said brightly, without turning around. Coffee is fresh. I sat on the edge of the counter and stayed quiet for a moment. I took in the room like it was a movie set. Sunlight through the window. The French press. That ridiculous mug she loved that said marketing queen. Everything looked the same. I did not. I will be late tonight, I said calmly. Meeting Jim, then catching up with some old friends. She paused just long enough for me to notice before sliding eggs onto a plate. That sounds nice, she said. Who are you seeing? I looked at her then. Really looked. The loose curls falling from her bun. Her bare shoulders. She did not look guilty. She looked prepared, like someone who had already rewritten the story in her head. An old army buddy, I said. Have not seen him in years. It was a lie, but not one that mattered anymore. She pushed the plate toward me and leaned against the counter, studying my face like she was trying to read something that would not load. You okay? She asked, her voice tilted just enough to sound concerned, but her eyes did not quite match it. I nodded once. Fine. That single word carried the weight of the entire night before. She took a slow sip of her coffee, watching me over the rim of the mug. You kind of disappeared last night, she said. You seemed busy. Her eyes tightened for half a second, just enough to notice if you were looking for it. It was your birthday, Daniel. Was it? I let the silence stretch after that. Picked up my fork. Took a bite. The eggs were cooked right. Soft, buttery, exactly how I liked them. Somehow that made it worse. The fact that she could stand there and feed me like everything was normal. Like my absence had not mattered at all. Like I had not walked out of my own life. After a moment, she spoke again, light and casual. So, should I wait up for you tonight? I looked at her slowly and let the pause sit there just long enough to make her uncomfortable. No need, I said. That was it. I slid off the counter, rinsed my plate, grabbed my keys. The front door closed behind me with a clean, quiet click. No slam. No speech. Just the sound of a man leaving a house that no longer felt like his. As I walked down the street, I could feel it. Her eyes on my back. Not with worry. Not with love. With calculation. She thought she had won something the night before. She had no idea the game had just started. The coffee shop smelled like cinnamon and wet concrete. One of those early spring mornings when Denver still cannot decide if winter is finished. I sat by the window out of habit and stirred a cup of coffee I had no intention of drinking. Across from me sat a man named Paul Carter. He looked like the kind of guy people forget the moment he walks past them. Thin glasses, short sleeves, even though it was cold. A faded Denver Broncos tattoo on his forearm that said more about loyalty than intelligence. Paul was a former police officer turned private investigator. The kind of man who noticed everything and talked very little unless you were paying him. I usually stay away from domestic work, he said, opening a worn leather notebook. But your message was clear. I nodded, watching a woman outside struggle to get her dog to move. You are not here for drama, I said. I just need to know who my wife spends time with when she is not with me. He gave a dry half smile. You said her name was Lauren. What made you suspicious? I did not answer right away. My eyes focused on a smudge on the glass. Maybe a fingerprint. Faded, but proof someone had been there. She raised a glass to another man at my birthday party, I said finally, and laughed like I did not exist. Paul did not react. He just wrote something down. Name. I did not catch it, I said. Beard. The kind of guy who sells expensive liquor to executives and calls it a lifestyle. Paul nodded. Got it. I slid a photograph across the table. A cropped picture from a trip last year to Breckenridge. Lauren leaning against a lodge railing. Wind in her hair. I barely recognized the woman in the image anymore. You want phone records? He asked, tucking the photo away. Not yet, I said. Start with her office. Lunch breaks. Who she leaves with after work. See if the guy from the party shows up. He stood and gave a tight nod. 2 weeks. Sooner if something surfaces. I watched him disappear into the crowd, swallowed by briefcases and bus exhaust. The kind of man who moved through the city like smoke. Invisible until the damage was already done. Outside, I pulled out a cigarette. I had quit 6 years earlier. The first drag felt like confession. The second felt like control. I was not chasing answers. I was preparing for them. It was a Tuesday when the envelope arrived. Thick. Manila. No return address. Just my name written in blocky black letters, like it had come from a typewriter owned by someone who did not waste words. I closed my office door and sat down. I opened the envelope slowly, hands steady, because some part of me already knew. The first photograph was grainy, but clear enough. Lauren. The red dress she wore to my birthday party, leaning into the same man from the rooftop. Her hand flat against his chest like it belonged there. The next photo hurt more. Same man. Same dress. Her mouth on his. His hand locked around the back of her neck like this was not new, like they had practiced it. Not inside the party. Outside. Behind a line of bushes near the valet stand. Hiding, but not really trying. Photo after photo. Paul had done his job. I stared at the last image the longest. Not because it was the most obvious, but because of her face. She was laughing. Eyes closed. head tipped back. The same laugh she used to give me. I set the stack down carefully, like it might break if I moved too fast. Then I opened the second part of the envelope. Printed messages. Social media conversations. Check-ins. Paul had followed their connection back 6 months to a leadership workshop she hosted at work. The man was a coworker. Sales. Of course. The type who wore just enough cologne and just enough confidence to pass for important. I flipped another page. His name was Tyler Grant. I let it sink in, rolled it around in my head, memorized it the way I used to memorize targets at the range. Then I smiled. It was not happy. It was not angry. It was the look of a man who had stopped waiting. I opened the bottom drawer of my desk and pulled out a black folder I usually save for contracts. I peeled off the label and replaced it with a new one. Grant. Then I turned to my laptop. My hands moved on their own. Numbers. Accounts. Schedules. Planning. I double-checked every account I could access. Old passwords she never bothered to change. Shared logins she assumed would always stay shared. I wrote everything down and made a list. Then I started printing. Page after page slid out of the machine beside me. The printer hummed steady and dull, matching the rhythm building in my chest. It was not anger. It was understanding. Because now I knew. Now it was solid. And when something becomes real, a man stops guessing. Real men do not yell when they are betrayed. They prepare. That night, she lit the candles like it was any ordinary weekday. 3 thick, white ones, vanilla-scented, the kind she always liked. Lauren loved atmosphere. Mood lighting. Carefully chosen music. Wine poured into oversized glasses that caught the glow just right. Jazz played softly in the background. Safe. Neutral. Thoughtful without commitment. Dinner was salmon with a citrus glaze. Arugula salad. Toasted pine nuts. Everything done just right. She smiled at me across the table, relaxed, confident. I watched the way she leaned back in her chair, one arm draped casually over it, her wine glass rolling between her fingers, like she had not kissed another man behind a row of shrubs less than a week earlier. "Remember when we used to cook together?" she asked, warm and nostalgic. "Feels like a lifetime ago." I nodded once. Nothing more. She noticed the quiet, but did not push. That had become her habit. Toss out a line and wait to see if I would bite. I did not come to play. She sipped her wine, eyes half-lidded. "Do you ever think we might just be stuck in one of those boredom phases?" she asked. I raised an eyebrow. A boredom phase? She laughed softly. "You know, couples fall into routines. No surprises. Just habits." I let the silence hang. Let it sit longer than comfort allows. Then I reached beneath the table and pulled out an envelope. Plain white. Thin. I slid it across to her, slow and controlled. Her smile faltered as she picked it up. "What is this?" "Open it." She opened the flap and pulled out 2 glossy cards. A luxury spa retreat near Aspen. A full weekend. Massages. Detox treatments. No phones. No distractions. One-way shuttle included. Departure on Saturday morning. Her eyes lifted to mine. "You booked this?" I nodded. "Figured you could use some space to clear your head." She blinked. "Wait, you're not coming?" "No," I said, folding my napkin. "This trip is for you." She stared at the cards, the silence between us thickening. "You are serious." "I am." She let out a small, uncertain laugh. Confused, but unwilling to show it. "Well, that is unexpected." I stood and gathered my plate. "That is the point." At the sink, I rinsed my fork. In the reflection of the dark window, I saw her still sitting there, still holding the envelope, frozen. I did not look back when I left the room. I did not need to. I had seen that look before. On myself. That moment when you feel the ground shift and realize you do not know which way is down anymore. She thought she understood strategy. She did not realize the board had changed. She left before sunrise. I heard the soft roll of her suitcase across the hardwood floor. The quiet click of the door closing. No goodbye. No kiss. Just the sound of heels fading down the hallway, like she was heading to a meeting instead of walking out of a marriage. I stayed in bed another 10 minutes, staring at the ceiling. Then I got up and went to work. First came the laptop. I sat at the kitchen island and opened our shared email account. Password resets. Bank logins. Streaming services. Cloud storage. Even the shared music playlist she insisted we build together. Locked. Removed. Taken back. Next came the money. Joint savings transferred. Shared checking cleared. Utilities scheduled for disconnection on Sunday night. Just enough time for her to enjoy the spa before the lights shut off. Each click felt lighter than the last. There was no emotion left in it. Just movement. Clean and necessary. I paused once. Halfway through updating the security codes for the building entrance, my thumb hovered over her name on the tenant list. I stared at it for a moment. Then I deleted it. She would not need that code anymore. By noon, I packed a bag. Not rushed. Precise. Only what mattered. Clothes. Training gear. Documents I had already scanned and backed up. I left the wedding photo on the nightstand. Still in the silver frame. Her favorite picture. Us laughing on a beach in Santa Barbara at something neither of us could remember now. I let it stay. Let her come back thinking everything was fine. Long enough for the quiet to settle into her chest. I closed the laptop. Zipped the bag. Stood in the living room and listened. The apartment had never been this silent. No music. No footsteps. No humming from the kitchen. Just my breathing. I did not feel sad. I did not feel much at all. Just present. Just ready. I opened the door, stepped into the hallway, and did not look back. She had her spa weekend. I had work to do. By Sunday afternoon, the silence had changed. No longer something you sit in. Something that presses down on you. I was at a lounge downtown. Low lighting. Soft jazz. A glass of bourbon sweating onto a leather coaster. Across from me sat my lawyer, Brian Collins. Calm. Efficient. The kind of man who could dismantle a marriage before lunch and still make it home for dinner. He flipped through a slim folder like this was just another file. And for him, it was. She has no separate assets, Brian said without looking up from the folder. Everything has been under your name since you incorporated the studio. I nodded slowly. That part one already knew. And the apartment? I asked. He gave a faint smile. She will need to find somewhere else to home. That got a short laugh out of me. Just once. Quiet. Gone as fast as it came. My phone buzzed again. Another message from Lauren. The fifth one in an hour. I did not open it. I did not need to. I already knew what they said. Daniel, the utilities are not working. Did you forget to pay the bill? My card was declined. Is the bank having issues? I cannot log into our shared cloud account. Did you change the password? Daniel, what is going on? Panic dressed up as politeness. My phone vibrated again. A sixth message. Brian glanced at the screen. She is starting to notice. He took a sip of water and slid the folder toward me. Everything is ready. We just need timing. I want the papers on the table before she walks back into that apartment, I said. Brian raised an eyebrow. You sure you do not want to talk to her face to face? I looked down at the glass in my hand, watching the amber liquid roll slowly along the sides. She already made her choices. He nodded once. Then I will have it delivered tomorrow. Outside, dark clouds were rolling in. Denver spring storms move fast. 1 minute sunlight. The next, thunder splitting the sky like a warning shot. Inside, everything was calm. Just me, the lawyer, and a quiet drink. Her messages kept coming. I let them stack up unread. She was not asking for me. She was asking for control. And control was gone. The apartment door was cracked when she came back. Not wide open. Just enough to let a thin blade of hallway light spill inside. Just enough to say I am not here. Lauren stepped in carefully, like the place might bite her. She rolled her suitcase over the threshold, probably expecting warmth. Maybe anger. Maybe a fight. What she got was silence. Not peaceful silence. Heavy silence. Cold. The kind you cannot blame on the thermostat. The living room was dim. Curtains drawn. Her perfume still hung faintly in the air, stubborn, like a memory that refused to leave. On the coffee table sat a thick manila envelope, placed dead center. Next to it, a neat stack of printed photographs. She stopped. She did not need instructions. With stiff fingers, she picked up the first photo. Her breath caught. There she was, pressed close to Tyler Grant behind the party venue, smiling, lips locked like the rest of the world did not exist. The angle was clean, cruel, clear enough to leave no room for doubt. There were more. A full timeline of betrayal in glossy 4x6 prints. Her knees gave slightly, and she dropped onto the couch without planning to. The envelope felt heavier than it looked. Inside were the divorce papers. Filed. Signed. The reality did not arrive slowly. It landed all at once. Like stepping off the last rung of a ladder you did not realize you had climbed. Then she saw the messages. Her messages. Printed and organized beneath the envelope. Every flirtation. Every plan. Every emoji she thought was private. There was no defense. No gray area. She pressed her palm to her forehead, suddenly short of breath. The spa weekend. The one-way shuttle. It had not been a gift. It had been an opening. And I had taken it. She grabbed her phone, hands shaking. Daniel, we need to talk. Please. I just got back. I am home. Can you come back so we can talk? Why are you doing this? I do not understand what you want. 3 dots appeared once, then vanished. Nothing. She tried calling. Straight to voicemail. Her voice cracked as she left a message. Daniel, I do not know what to say. Please come home. We can fix this. You did not even let me explain. The words sounded wrong even to her. Thin. Empty. Too late. She called a mutual friend. Then another. The third call went straight to voicemail without ringing. That was when she checked the group messages. One stood out. From me. Sent a week earlier. If anyone is wondering why I have gone quiet, this is why. The photos attached are all the explanation I owe. I am choosing peace. I hope the rest of you do the same. For reactions. All hearts. Lauren dropped the phone. The silence shifted. It was not just quiet anymore. It was empty. No music. No late-night workout sounds. No keyboard clicking from the office. Just the low hum of the refrigerator, unaware of the implosion it had witnessed. She stood slowly, like someone coming up from deep water. Her legs barely moved. Her eyes searched the apartment. Every corner. Every shadow. Looking for proof this was not real. There was none. No socks. No toothbrush. No loose ends. In the bedroom, one side of the closet stood completely empty. Clean. Exact. I had planned this like a man building an exit, not a tantrum. She walked back into the living room and sat again. Not because she was tired. Because there was nowhere left to stand. The silence was no longer around her. It was inside her. It was inside her now. I did not see it myself, but I knew how it went. By Monday morning, the first thing she did was reach for her phone and call Sarah Miller. Lauren had never liked Sarah much. Too direct. Too sharp. The kind of woman who noticed things and did not pretend otherwise. But Sarah had been one of my oldest friends, all the way back to my army days. If anyone might explain me, soften the edges, or convince me to talk, Lauren figured it would be her. The call rang once. Twice. Then voicemail. Hi Sarah, it is Lauren. I really need to talk to someone. I came home and Daniel is gone. Like, really gone. I know he is angry, and I know he probably told you things that. Listen, I just need a friend right now. Someone who knew us. Someone who knows him. Please call me back. She hung up, but the weight in her chest only grew heavier. By noon, she had tried nearly everyone. Old college friends. People from the gym. Even my barber. Nothing but unanswered calls and unread messages. Late that afternoon, one message finally came through. From Olivia, a woman Lauren had gone out with just a couple of weekends earlier. Olivia wrote, Hey Lauren, I think it is best if we give each other some space right now. I hope you are okay. No smiley face. No heart. Just distance. Clean and intentional. Lauren stared at the screen until the words blurred. She still had not cried. Her body would not allow it. She had spent so long managing appearances, controlling outcomes, shaping stories, that even grief did not know how to enter. The apartment felt wrong. Too clean. My side of the closet gone. My space at the bathroom sink empty. The coat hooks by the door stripped bare. Everything removed efficiently. Not cruelly. That was the part that hurt her most. If I had shouted, if I had broken something, if I had begged or demanded answers, she might have grabbed onto that. Something emotional. Something messy. Instead, all I left behind was calm. And that calm unraveled her. She spent the day in old sweatpants and one of my shirts, curled into the couch like a question mark no one was answering. Her mind kept searching for explanations. Loopholes. Ways to reduce the damage. She told herself the kiss with Tyler had been stupid. Meaningless. A shallow reaction to feeling unseen. She believed she could manage it. Apologize. Cry if needed. Rewrite the story once emotions cooled. Find a way back. But there was no way back. Only a deep, unbearable stillness. Late that night, the doorbell rang. She jumped up and ran to it. For one broken second, she thought it might be me. It was not. 2 men stood in the hallway. A moving company. One held a clipboard. The other held a set of keys. My keys. Lauren Walker? The taller one asked. She nodded, barely. We are here to collect your personal belongings. Bedroom closet. Bottom drawers. The rest has already been arranged for storage. She froze. Who sent you? She asked. The man checked the paperwork. Daniel Walker. This was scheduled last week. Of course it was. They moved through the apartment with practiced distance. Folding, packing, carrying. One unplugged the record player she had argued to keep. The other rolled up her yoga mat like it was nothing. Lauren sat in my chair and watched herself disappear piece by piece. When they finished, the taller man handed her a folder. Inside was the final, signed copy of the divorce filing. Stamped. Filed. Complete. No note. No message. No space left to respond. Only a new return address. A studio loft across town. She traced the street name with her finger. She had always joked that I would never leave that apartment. Said I was too steady. Too sentimental. Turns out, she had not known me at all. Or maybe I had simply stopped letting her. The movers left quietly. The door closed. Lauren stood alone in the middle of the room, surrounded by too much space and not enough sound. That was when it finally landed. I was not making a point. I was gone. And she was not the one who walked away. The first week passed in a fog. She kept waiting for the silence to break. For a message, a knock, something, even an argument. Anything that said this still mattered. Nothing came. Eventually, she stopped checking her phone. The same people who once filled her inbox with praise and plans had gone quiet. Some unfollowed her. Others did worse. They said nothing at all. The spa weekend turned into a bitter joke. She found the receipt still in her purse, folded beside a half-used lip balm and a note from her last therapy session. Written in her own handwriting was one question. Do you feel worthy of being chosen? The irony was impossible to miss. By the 9th day, she started packing. Not the expensive things. Not the pieces meant to impress anyone. She packed the small things. A worn paperback novel she had read a dozen times. The chipped turquoise mug she always used for tea. A faded photo strip from high school. The two of us laughing before tension existed. Before either of us knew how to hide. That was all she could carry. The apartment had turned into a place that no longer belonged to her. Like a museum where the exhibits stayed the same, but the visitor had been quietly erased. Every room still carried traces of me. Not loud ones. Subtle ones. The kind that linger even when the person is gone. She tried to remember the last real conversation we had. Not scheduling. Not logistics. Not talking past each other while staring at phones. A real conversation. Two people sitting face to face, on the same side, actually listening. She could not find one. Somewhere along the way, she stopped seeing me as a man and started seeing me as part of the scenery. The dependable one. The steady presence. The quiet strength that would always be there no matter how far she leaned away. She thought my calm meant I could be bent. What she never understood was that I was not bending. I was waiting. And while she was busy managing appearances, I was rebuilding. Late Friday evening, the final delivery arrived. A plain brown box. No return address. Just her name written in my tight, careful handwriting. Inside were the last of her things. A watch she had given me on our 4th anniversary. A stack of old instant photos from a trip we took to Santa Fe. And a folded letter. No greeting. No signature. Just a few simple words. You taught me how to leave. Thank you. That was when the tears finally came. Not loud. Not dramatic. Just steady. Quiet. Like something unraveling thread by thread. Everything she believed she could control slipping through her fingers. Sitting there, surrounded by empty closets and echoing rooms, she finally understood something she had avoided for months. I did not abandon her. I outgrew her. I was not punishing her. I was done waiting for her to see my value. And I left with nothing except my self-respect. She slid down onto the floor beside the couch. Too tired to move. Too ashamed to sleep. The walls were the same. The view outside the window unchanged. But the air felt different. It did not carry me anymore. And in its place was a stillness she could not negotiate. Because the man who used to make her laugh was gone. And she had not even noticed when he stopped. Months later, I found myself at a wedding neither of us ever expected to actually happen. An old college friend of mine, Ethan, the kind of guy who once treated commitment like a suggestion, stood at the altar in a gray tux. His eyes were wet as he slid a ring onto the shaking hand of a woman who looked like she still had not fully exhaled since walking down the aisle. I sat near the back, alone by choice. I was not there to mingle. I was not there to be noticed. I was there for closure. 6 months had passed since I walked out of that apartment. Since I reset every password, changed the locks, and left my wedding ring in the drawer beside hers. 6 months since I chose myself. A small jazz group played softly while guests clinked glasses and settled into their seats. My life had grown quieter in the best way. I trained harder, slept deeper, built out a second gym across town. My circle was smaller now, fewer handshakes, more people I trusted. And then I saw her. Lauren walked in slowly, carefully, hair pinned just right. A dress that once would have owned the room, now worn like armor. She laughed a little too loudly, then caught herself, scanning the space like she already felt exposed. She did not see me at first. I watched her move between tables like someone trying to remember how to belong. Like she was still figuring out who she was without the man she once measured herself against. When our eyes finally met, it lasted only a moment. Her steps slowed. Her jaw tightened. She hesitated just long enough for me to see it. Then she crossed the room wearing a smile so practiced I could almost hear the cue in her head. "Daniel," she said, unsure. I nodded. "Lauren." She took me in. The calm, the clean lines, the new watch. But what caught her attention most was the woman beside me. A friend from the gym. Easy smile. Real laughter. No performance. Lauren's eyes flicked to her, then back to me. "You look good," she said. "Thank you," I replied. "Life has been good to me." She searched for something clever to say, something to close the distance. Instead, her voice softened. "I did not think you would be here. Ethan invited me," I said. "We go back." She nodded, staring into her glass, fingers tracing the rim. "I have been meaning to reach out," she said quietly. "You just did." The finality in my voice caught her off guard. I leaned in slightly, lowering my voice so only she could hear. "You stopped laughing when I left, did you?" She froze. Her grip tightened. For a second, everything crossed her face. Denial, grief, regret, all of it smudging the edges of her composure. I did not wait for an answer. I stepped back, nodded once, and returned to my seat. Behind me, there was nothing. No reply. No footsteps. Just the quiet collapse of a role she could no longer play. The band picked up the tempo. People clapped and stood to dance. The woman beside me leaned in and asked, "Old friend?" "Something like that," I said with a smile. As the room filled with music and laughter, I sat back and let it all move around me. There was no anger left. No revenge. Only release. The calm satisfaction of a man who rebuilt his life not out of bitterness, but out of clarity. That chapter did not end with shouting. It ended with a whisper and a clean, deliberate turn of the page. If this story hit home for you, share your thoughts. Would you have walked away or tried to make her stay?